Sheringham, Shearer, and he scored! 2-0! 2-0!
That's to Lampard, and then Shearer! Fabulous goal!
Deeper and deeper, Joao Cancelo, oh that's a great ball! Oh, it had to be! It had to be!
Alan Shearer and Erling Haaland, two goal-scoring giants separated by decades with the innate ability to make a defender's heart quiver in his boots. Shearer is the echo of history from the Premier League. Seasoned English lion outfox the young Viking, or would Haaland's raw power and speed be too much for even the great Shearer to handle? So who'd win in a head-to-head? While that's one for the pub debates, let's still have a bit of fun with this fantasy showdown, shall we? Back in his heyday, Alan Shearer was the undisputed monarch of the penalty area, a proper number 9. If ever there was one, Shearer had an unquenchable thirst for goals. His playing style? A mixture of brute force, deadly precision and razor-sharp instincts. Shearer's heading ability was almost mythical. He would rise like a salmon at a barbecue, towering above defenders and smashing the ball home with all the subtlety of a sledgehammer. And that right foot of his? You can try building a wall to stop it, but you'd be much better off running for cover. For penalties, you would find that Shearer was as cool as a cucumber in a snowstorm. He skidded them away with voracious efficiency, making it look like something easier than a Sunday morning stroll. He wasn't just a goal machine. Shearer led the line like a man possessed, hounding defenders and creating space for teammates like a bulldozer in a china shop. His goal-scoring feats are the stuff of legend, and rightfully so. Shearer still holds the record as the Premier League's all-time top scorer with 260 goals, an incredible feat, considering that number is more than some middle-aged and younger fans have been alive. It isn't just the quantity, it's the consistency. 11 seasons in a row hitting double figures in the league says much of the man's staying power. Shearer's goals have had real meaning. Remember Blackburn Rovers in '95? Shearer's goals fired them to a Premier League title that, to this day, is spoken of in Lancashire pubs. In moving to Newcastle, the club he supported as a boy, he became all-time top scorer at the Toon, leading the Geordie faithful in one-armed salutes that would become iconic across the country.
Setting up lovely for them. He hits the target and
There were moments that defined his career. That towering header against Manchester United in 1996, where he outjumped Gary Pallister like a man with springs in his boots, or that thunderbolt volley against Everton in 2002. Honestly, it's a wonder the net stayed in place. There's his penalty taking, just absolutely ice cold, barely a miss of a beat from 12 yards out. But Shearer was within inches more than goals. He was all about graft, chasing lost causes around like a dog on a bone. Who can forget the '98 FA Cup semi-final when he chased down a hopelessly lost cause and then turned it into a gilt-edged opportunity for Rob Lee? Or that solo goal against Tottenham in '99 when he danced through defenders before tucking it away cool as you like. The more his career developed, the more his leadership shone through. He dragged his team through the mud to a man. When he netted twice against Sunderland in 2000, both strikes grasped at greatness, not least a free kick which was simply sublime. That was not a one-off. Shearer consistently delivered. And the hat-tricks, 11 in total, amassed like they were going out of fashion, the most in Premier League history. Those 11 straight double-digit goal-scoring campaigns, no one did that by accident. That was Shearer, the unyielding force to be reckoned with, best in class, perennially, even as the years came to catch up. And it wasn't just the fans who took a shine to him, his peers did too. What's more, Shearer himself won the Premier League Golden Boot on 3 separate occasions to go with his PFA Players Player of the Year in 1995. Not bad, eh? But there was much more than individual glory to Shearer's goals. He was the axis of Blackburn's title-winning side in 1995, and for Newcastle, he ensured they punched above their weight more often than not. Very nearly he took them to the title once and to top 4 finishes and a place in the Champions League. Oh, and Shearer was the first to reach 100 Premier League goals too, reaching it against Tottenham in 1995, setting the bar for all who followed. His legacy doesn't stop in the Premier League though. All told, he's scored 283 goals in the Premier League era. an amount that all but cements his place among the truly great footballers. Erling Haaland, this blonde Norwegian lad, has stepped into the net on their back and scaring goalkeepers down to the root of their very boot. With a finishing touch rivaled by few, Haaland is in the process of changing the definition of what it means to be a striker in the modern game. Mention Haaland and you can't through treacle. Remember that goal against West Ham when he just blew past the entire backline and slotted home as if it were the easiest thing in the world. Striker's instinct that seems hardwired into him. The lad knows where the goal is, be that with his feet or his head, yet isn't shy about finding it. A proper unit at 6'4", Haaland is. He's as dominant in the air as that would suggest, bullying defenders around like he's playing schoolyard football and with hold-up play second to none. Take that goal against Wolves, for example. He bulldozed 2 defenders before powering a header into the net. What can pull off is as if it has been chiseled from granite. In finishing, he is a clinical surgeon. No messing about, just pure goals upon goals. In his debut campaign in the Premier League, Haaland has been not just breaked 36 times, the highest number any player has hit in a single campaign. He's now the defender's worst nightmare because he is always lurking, lying in wait to pounce upon any mistake, and most times the setups find the back of the net.
Haaland's on a hat-trick already, and we've not even reached half-time.
That hat-trick against Manchester United? It was as though one watched a master of his game. First, there was the towering header to illustrate aerial dominance. The third, a thunderous strike from the edge of the box that had goal written all over it from the moment he hit it. And then his physical presence, the way he just threw Wolves defenders aside before forcing in a header, was a lesson in finding space and finishing with deadly accuracy. It's no wonder he's already being talked about as one of the best in the world. But Haaland isn't without his finesse. That acrobatic bicycle kick against Southampton was different. He'd literally have thought he defied gravity, the way he hung in the air before sending the ball home after the rebound. One of those goals whereby you're just sitting and staring at the evidence that Haaland's talents are so far beyond the ordinary headers and tap-ins. And there was that goal against Dortmund in the Champions League. Haaland stretched his leg to a near impossible angle, volleying the ball into the net as though it were the easiest feat to accomplish in the world. That goal showed his flexibility, not only in terms of football and technique, but also. Then there was his one-man show against Arsenal, when he shrugged off defenders as if he were shooing away a fly, totally stepped on the gas, and got the ball over the line with the calmness you would expect from a seasoned pro. Dismayed and dazed, the Gunners' backline could hardly believe the turnaround. In his inaugural season, Haaland didn't just break them, but totally shredded them. The lad scored a hilarious 36 goals in 35 appearances, duly collecting the Premier League Golden Boot and the European Golden Shoe. Goals per game? That's a somewhat mind-boggling 1.03. You'd think those types of numbers were from a video game, striker with a mission. But Haaland's game isn't just about the goals. He's an all-round footballer. Just as he is deadly, he is similarly a creator, collecting 8. He is an aerial nightmare for defenders, for he wins way more than his fair share of duels in the air. His ability to hold up the ball and bring others into play, only adding brilliance to his all-in-all profile. He is the kind of player who can turn a game single-handedly on its head. A new def in the Premier League, he reached the milestone in 45 games, exactly 7 faster than the record holder before him, Andrew Cole. That is actually a record that stands for lots of consistency and finding ways of getting the ball into the net week in and week out. And then there's the small matter of his hat-trick, 6 of them, in his debut season, setting yet another Premier League to score a hat-trick in 3 consecutive home games, an accomplishment for which fans and pundits alike fumbled for adjectives in its wake. Almost unplayable, in-form Haaland can single-handedly tear through opposition defences to single-handedly change the fate of the match. But it's not just in the Premier League. Haaland to 25 and 30 goals in the UEFA Champions League. Proof he has what it takes to mix it with the best on the biggest of stages. And then it would blow and the battle would be engaged. There Shearer would just chest up, begin leaning on defenders and win every header. Haaland would just remain on the shoulder of the last defender, his lightning pace and predatory instincts waiting to pounce, darting back and forth at every opportunity. The long ball would be sent toward the box, and Shearer would rise majestically, out-jumping his marker to power a header toward goal. But Haaland, with his explosive acceleration, he would have smelt the move and been there to clear it off the line afterward, with a desperate lunge. It would be a fluctuating game in which both sets of strikers would contrast in their strengths. How Shearer's hold-up play brought his team into the game, and Haaland's relentless pressing forced opposition players save. It was minutes later when Haaland found himself one-on-one with the keeper. He would first fake, shift his mass, and heave a thunderous shot guaranteed to find the back of the net. The crowd went berserk as he wheeled away in his customary celebration, that smirking face that had become his signature. The game was firmly poised at this stage. Both forwards were just dying to make that match-winning impact. A cross must have been swirled into the box, and there Shearer was again, with his timing, rising above everyone to head the ball towards goal. But somehow Haaland, with his amazingly perfect athleticism, got a foot to it, sending it over the bar. Only for the game to be stopped 1-1 by the final whistle, in what had appeared a breathless array of action. There would have been moments of brilliance that would have stirred the crowd from both attackers. Haaland's pace and clinical finishing would equal the powerhouse and aerial presence of Shearer. It would be just a standoff, none taking from the other. Both of them would have proved their worth to us, and both of them would have left everyone else speechless. The argument of who is the better goal scorer would keep going, but one thing would already be a fact. The Premier League has been graced with two of the most prolific strikers the game of football has ever witnessed. But just pub chat thereafter, and it's all said and done, but let's keep it civil, shall we? I am hardly talking about two fabulous colossuses here. The prime Alan Shearer against the irresistible Erling Haaland. Imagine them at a proper and full Wembley. The stage set for something immense. The whistle blows and off we go. Shearer, with his blasted wind, would go through the knocked past defenders and win everything in the air. Haaland would lurk off the last defender's shoulder, ready to pounce with that lightning-quick pace and the predator's instincts of his. It's a long ball into the box. Shearer jumps in expectation of his salmon over his marker, sending a header goalward with a crash. But Haaland spotted it. Free kick just outside the box. That's Shearer territory. In, he steps to ram it with venom, really, forcing the keeper to tip it over the bar. But Haaland, the teenager, had other ideas. Minutes later, he was latching onto the ball outside the box, outpacing three markers, getting goal side, only to be brought down somewhat cumbersomely in the box. A few feints and slight weight transfer dizzy the player marking him, and then boom, with the ball in the back of the net. The crowd erupts, and there's Haaland, a little smirk, as he wheels away in obvious delight. Shearer times his run perfectly, leaps above everybody, and heads goalwards. Shearer's raw power and aerial dominance are each matched blow for blow by Haaland's pace and clinical finishing. No one might win that hypothetical shootout today. They have just proven the worth they have, and just left us in awe of what they do. And the debate as to who the better goal scorer is may rage in the pubs up and down the country, boxing the Premier League. Bravo to that! That's it for this one. If you loved this fantasy matchup between Shearer and Haaland, make sure to like and subscribe. Stay tuned for more footy matchups on Sports Icons.